Well, thank you, Mike and Nick, for having me on. It's an absolute honor to be on here and talking to you guys tonight. So like Mike said, my name is Emily Katz, and I am 20 years old. So I started this business as soon as I turned 18. I did the license coach when I was 17, and then got my license as soon as it was legal. And I still wanted to go to college, still wanted to have that experience. So I went to NC State, North Carolina State University, and I did that in 2 years, got my bachelor's in marketing and business. And so really just wanted to go and create my own business. And I knew that going in, I knew that the Alliance was my path, but still wanted to get the college education done. But I wanted to start. I didn't want to wait until I had finished school. So I started doing this on just a part-time basis, working about 1 to 2 days a week. First year, just doing it part-time, I had $31,000 deposited. And second year, again, part-time, it was $52,000. And really, it's nothing special that I did. I'm not the best in the business, anything like that. It's just that I've plugged into the system. And y'all have amazing leaders on this team. I've been around this business since the day I was born. I started really plugging into the hot spots and going to conferences when I was 10. So I've been plugged in really deep for about 10 years of my life. And y'all just have incredible leaders who have just taken this opportunity and just run with it. So you are following amazing people, and just the biggest thing is plug into them. They're having success and they're doing the right things. And that's what's helped me the most, is making sure that I'm surrounding myself with the right people. I think especially at my age and with going to college, there's a lot of people who enter into college and their goal is to rebel from everything their parents have taught them because they've been locked in and they want to get away from that. So they go into the drugs, the partying, the college life, all of that. And it's really easy to get sucked into that lifestyle. And I just knew that that's not where I wanted to end up 5 years from now. And so I was hanging out with people who were not in life in that place. I would be going to the hotspot meetings on Tuesday nights in Raleigh, and I'd be going to conferences. I missed classes because of conference. I missed events and parties and stuff like that because that's not where I wanted to be in life. And so one thing I struggled with whenever I got started is I didn't really struggle with dialing too much because I had been doing that for my parents for about 5 years before. So I had already gone through the struggle of dialing once I had my license, but I did struggle with the in-home. I struggled with building that relationship and rapport with the clients. And I know that growing up in this business, I had the egotistical misconception that, oh, I've been plugging in for the past 10 years. I should be an expert. And that's not how this works. Everybody goes through the crap. Everybody goes through the struggle. And it's the fighting that makes it worth it. You have to go through the struggles. And so I just really dug deep into my leaders. And I learned that my parents couldn't coach me. They needed to be mama and daddy for me. They did not need to be my boss. And so I talked to Andy. I said, who should I be talking to? And he said, go to Noelle Leventovich. And so I plugged in tight to her, and I plugged in tight to Andy. And so whenever I was struggling, I would go to them and they could give me coaching. So they helped me dig deep into questions. They helped me understand how to get uncomfortable in the home and build that tension where the client is going to give you that information that's going to help you make the sale so that you can really help that family. And so whenever I was struggling, I would just plug in tighter. And a lot of people, whenever they're struggling, it's like, oh, I don't want to look bad. I'm just going to kind of go back here, figure it out by myself. And that's just not how you become successful. It's okay to fail, just fail fast and get better. So that was really big, just communication and making sure I was connected to the team. Schedule has always been really important to me. And once I got into college, I became kind of manic with my schedule. And what I mean by that is from the time I woke up in the morning to the time I went to bed, I had it scheduled. So I had my classes scheduled. I had on my calendar, I love color coding things. There's a little bit of Beaver in me. So that's kind of where that comes from. But I would have my class 9:45 to 10:30, and then I would have walk to your next class, go get coffee, get lunch, take a nap, do your homework. Everything was scheduled out because if it wasn't scheduled, I was just going to waste time. Netflix was really easy to find, just walking around doing nothing. And without paying attention to it, my day is gone. And the more stuff you have to do, the more intentional you have to be about your schedule. So especially if you're doing this part-time, it's just so important to make sure that you're plugging in what you need to get done. That way you can fit the business in. Because we have 168 hours in a week, it's not typically that somebody has so much stuff going on that they can't fit this business in. It's just a matter of prioritization. So that was really important. It's just making sure that whenever I knew I wanted to dial, that's my dial block. I remember one time my roommate had people over in our room, and so I couldn't dial in there, and there were people downstairs where I typically dialed in the lounge. And so my other roommates or suite mates were going to dinner, said, hey, can I come dial in your room? And so they left for dinner. They invited me, but I said no. And I just dialed in their room. I made it work. And then I booked my appointments, and I would run appointments the next day or two. And so I knew the results I wanted to get, so I wasn't scared to put the work in. But I think that is something that the Alliance has taught me, is having vision and figuring out where I want to go in life. I was taught early on to do vision boards. And so to put pictures of where I wanted to go and the things I wanted to do, the experiences I wanted to have, even thinking long-term, the experience I want to have for my future kids, and just thinking about the person I want to become, because if I don't think about that, I'm just going to become wherever life takes me. And I want to get to choose that. And I do get to choose that. So having that vision of who I want to be makes it really easy to make decisions today. If it was just like, whatever happens, happens, then I don't have anything to do today. I can go hang out at the beach. I can take a nap. I can do whatever I want. But I want Andy's lifestyle. I want to have a plane. I want to be able to have that freedom to just hang out with my best friends in different locations around the world. Right now, I'm looking at a picture of Ireland right in front of me, and that's where I want to be next year. And so what am I going to do today to make sure that I'm in Ireland next year? So I think that's helped me a lot, is figuring out what I want. And it's something that whether you've ever thought about dream building before or not, you get to decide today who you want to become. I don't care how screwed up the past 10 years have been or whatever has happened before. Today is a new day, and we get to make that decision. And so I just chose early on who I wanted to become. And there's a lot of days that I've screwed it up. There's a lot of days where life has gotten in the way, and it's just like, shoot, today didn't go the way I wanted. Good thing I got tomorrow. So I think that's helped me a lot in just plugging into the system and making sure I'm intentional with my time. And so that's kind of where I think I have had some success. But again, it's not like I'm where I want to be. I have so much further that I want to go. I want to go partner. And so it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take struggles and fighting to get there. And I kind of find it funny whenever people are like, ran appointments and then got a bunch of no-shows, didn't make any sales today. It's like, what do you think? Like, people who make millions of dollars a year have it easy, that they just kind of fell in their lap. I'm reading The Secret to the Millionaire Mind right now. And the author talks about how we have a financial blueprint in our mind. And so we kind of have this idea of how much money we're supposed to make. And that's why most people who just randomly win the lottery lose it all over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, because they're not prepared for that amount of money. We have to prepare ourselves for the level of success we're going for. And so that takes being beat up a lot. On Monday, I remember Marcus said talking about, we're looking for people who can take a punch, because it's gonna take a lot of punches to get to the success. And it's not fun. Nobody said that, but that's where surrounding yourself with a team, surrounding yourself with a group of people who are going to be there to support you. Y'all have Mike and Nick and Panda and everybody here. And I know Rachel is here, and just such a loving team to say, hey, it's okay that today sucked. Let's be better tomorrow. They're here to walk alongside you and to push you to be better. It's not beating you up. They're here to help. And it's a group of people you can do life with. It's just so fun to hang out with the Alliance. And that's why you need to get to Reno. That's why you need to be in all the events. If you haven't heard about it, we're having our family reunion June 24th through the 26th in Reno, Nevada, and it will change your life. That's where 10 years ago I made the decision that this is where I was going to put my spear in the ground. This is where I was going to decide that this is going to be where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Because you just get around a group of people that are so different than the rest of the world. And it's crazy whenever I talk to my friends my age and just not sure where they want to go with life, and just it's kind of just like, see where life takes me, and they're struggling with what they want to do after school and everything like that. And it's just, I'm surrounded with this group of people who are so focused on tomorrow. One of my favorite things about Andy is just getting to watch his childlike faith. And I just love being on the plane with him, because if you watch whenever we go take off, he looks out the window and it's just the biggest grin on his face because he loves the moment. He's never lost amazement with success. And I think that is the amazing thing about the leader we're following, is that we're just following a group of people who are constantly striving to be better and who don't get comfortable in life. So I think that's kind of been something that's just been amazing and helped me always stay locked into the decision I made 10 years ago. Because there's been times, I'll be honest, that it's like, is this really what I want to be doing? There's weeks where it's just like sales are not going the way I want it to be. Recruiting's not going the way I want it to be. It's just the life of mediocrity sounds appealing. And then it's like, wait, hang on. Those people aren't happy. I want to be happy. I want to choose my destiny. And it's only because I've stayed plugged in and gone to conferences and made sure I'm communicating with Andy and Noelle and Mike and Nick, and talking to the people who are going to help me be successful, that I can get out of my mindset. Marcus said that, he said that the biggest problem in our life is the crap between our ears. And it's so true. Our minds will mess with us so much, at least mine does. And it's just so easy to buy into the lies that we tell ourselves, but we get to choose to surround ourselves around different books and different audios. Mike, I know one thing that you said to me on the plane that just stuck with me is that you listen to 2 to 3 hours of audio a day. And I was just like, wow, that is amazing how much positivity you put into your mind every day. And that's something I've started adopting, is that whenever I'm doing my work,
I was
I
going to
think
say,
we,
did we lose you?
I think we lost audio. Did we lose
Oh,
audio?
there we go. We did. There we go. Rewind 30 seconds, but that was really good. You don't sound like a 20-year-old. Keep going, Emily. Let them have it.
all right, awesome. Any questions that anybody has that you want me to answer?
No, so that was really good because the mindset stuff is big. How about as far as some of the technical stuff of the business? What were, I mean, obviously you've got to get good at dialing. You said you didn't have issues with that because you used to dial as a 13-year-old kid for your parents. So you've been around that. You've seen that. I know you were telling me that you struggled on the in-home. What did you struggle with on the in-home? Because there's the dialing, there's the basics, right? The dialing, the in-home presentation, overcoming objections, getting the app, all that, and then getting referrals, and then asking for safe money and all that kind of stuff. And then recruiting is a different side of it. But as far as, why did you struggle on the in-home? Were you nervous? Did you feel like, well, I'm just a kid? Like what was your struggle there? And how did you overcome it? Because I know you're a lot better now.
Yeah. And one thing I will say with the dialing, while I didn't struggle with the actual making of the phone calls, like the script and everything once I got started, I still to this day struggle with the monotony of it. It can be boring to dial. And so one thing that's helped me is making games out of it. I like gummy bears. And so I will like have a bag of gummy bears next to me, and every time I make a appointment, it's like, all right, I get a gummy bear. Like, reward yourself, figure out ways to make it fun, because dialing is really boring. And then the biggest thing that's helped me is getting into the office. And so I'm with Michelle Colin and Stephanie Rodriguez and Brian Rojas and Mike Hartley and Steve Maxim, and it's just it's that environment where whenever somebody is just being mean on the phone or saying something stupid, we just get to laugh and share it with everybody. And it's just so much more entertaining. It's so much easier to make the dial. So if y'all are not part of a dial team, plug into people, figure out ways to make it entertaining for yourself, because even if the script isn't hard for you, the mindset and the desire to start dialing can be. But yeah, so like Mike had said, I did struggle some with the in-home presentation. And I struggled with the small talk. Honestly, something kind of my whole life has been, I'm not a big small talk person. I will stay up till 3, 4 a.m. having deep conversations. But talking about our client's cat going to the doctor for the 8th time, I couldn't, I struggled with figuring out ways to pivot back to what I wanted to talk about, to make that lead into an important conversation, and just to continue with the small talk and understand that that's part of the process. And so I think that one thing has just been learning to ask questions and not getting scared of the answers. So like whenever we ask, oh, why'd you send in this form? Or who is the beneficiary? And then they say their daughter. It's like, okay, so can your daughter pay for your funeral? Probably. Okay. Do you want her to pay for the funeral? No. Or if they can't pay for the funeral, okay, where's your daughter going to go? To her sister's house. Okay. Where does her sister live? Like just asking all of these questions to get really deep so that they have this picture in their mind. And I think I've heard a lot of insurance stories over the years. So whenever somebody's like, oh yeah, my son couldn't afford to pay for that, in my mind, I can put myself into that situation. It's like, oh, I remember this other client that I had that this son ended up really in a bad shape and everything. And so I can picture it, but I forget that my client's not picturing that. And so making sure that I take the time to help them see the importance of it, because y'all, they sent in a freaking form. They got junk mail in their mailbox, filled it out, sealed it back up, sent it into a blind P.O. box in Burlington, North Carolina. And trust me, I've lived in North Carolina my whole life. People in Burlington, right outside of Burlington, like Greensboro, don't know what Burlington is. So nobody, it's not a common city that anybody knows about. And they're sending it into us. They want help. It's our job to remind them of that. And so something that Brian Rojas recently said to me is just that being bold is about caring. And so if you're not willing to be bold, it's just that you don't care enough. Because he knows that if he's not bold in the home, he's leaving that family unprotected. And so does he really care about it if he walks out of the house? And I was like, wow, yeah, that's true. Because boldness is always like, that's something I struggled with is, oh, I don't want to say anything to offend them. I don't want to get too close to that line. But the reality is the things that we think we're saying that are right at this line, we are so far from the line that you could say things and get kicked out of the house. My dad said, you don't know where the line is until you get kicked out of the house. So your job is to get kicked out of the house as fast as you can. And so that's something I've tried to work on is like, okay, how much do I care? How much do I care about this family? What am I willing to say to make sure that they have their coverage in place? Because leaving somebody without coverage, I'm screwing over their family. I am making a situation for their family in the future that I could have helped stop. And I just walked away because I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want to take the time to make sure that they're protected, to ask the questions, to feel uncomfortable for a few seconds. And so that's something that's very personal to me, is making sure that my clients really are protected and that they know I care. I'm not just another insurance salesperson, because I actually care about that family. I'm going to be with them every step of the process. And I've been doing some virtual policy reviews lately, and it's been interesting because some of these people, I haven't had anybody talk to them in 15 years. They had a term policy, and whenever I talk to them, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Or I thought I had more coverage than that. Or, ooh, we need to get that fixed. Or the beneficiaries have changed. Talked to one person, and they'd had 2 babies since we got this policy 15 years ago. And it's like, okay, well, we need to update your beneficiaries. And it's just realizing that the clients that we're sitting with are no different than previous clients that we've had. They all struggle with knowing what they really have. And it's just the thought process I have is, how am I going to show them that I care? How am I going to make sure that this family is better off because I was here? I don't need to be wasting their time. I believe in what we have. I believe in the impact that we can make on people. And I know the importance of insurance. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the problems that can come whenever somebody doesn't have insurance, and I've seen the problems that don't come whenever somebody does. We have a new recruit on the team that we were talking to earlier today, and she's 28 years old. Her dad had work insurance and he retired. And so he was in a transition period between the work insurance ending and getting it into retirement insurance or whatever the company did. But he had spent 30 years teaching at this university. He died 30 days after he retired, and they wouldn't pay the insurance claim. So now her mom at 70 years old had to go back to work because they didn't have enough money to support the family. And it's just, why did somebody not help them sooner? Why did somebody not do the job of making sure that they were in a better situation? And there's so many times I sit with people who have work insurance, and it'd be so easy to just be like, all right, looks like you're covered, whenever they say, we got this taken care of. And it's like, no, you don't. This work insurance is not going to be there when you need it. But am I willing to say that? And so we all have things that we think in our head and don't say. And I've just learned to start saying them. And so what if they get upset? What does it really matter? If they kick you out of the house, you don't see them again, so what? Why would I not take the time to show them that they matter and that their family matters? Because I've had the conversations before where I remember my first death claim, the daughter called me and she was like, hey, I think my mom has an insurance policy with you. And I was like, all right, let me pull it up. And it was somebody who had stopped paying on their policy like a month or two after they had gotten it. And I felt like the bottom of the earth because I never called that. I saw the chargeback come through and I didn't call the client to get it fixed. And so now there's this policy that could have been there to take care of the family. And it wasn't, because I didn't want to make the phone call and risk like them saying like, oh, I don't want that insurance anymore. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I didn't see the chargeback. I don't know what happened. But I remember that phone call and how upset the daughter was. And I knew from that point forward, I never want to be in that situation again. So whenever I get a chargeback come through, I'm calling the family. I'm making sure that their coverage is taken care of, because I don't want to be in that place again. I want to make sure that I've done my job. We obviously can't make everybody pay their premiums, and there's going to be stuff like that, but I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to protect that family. And that was a mindset shift that I had that helped me make more sales and protect more families, because I got coaching and I realized that me not being bold and asking those questions is just showing the family that I don't really care.
Wow.
Awesome. That's solid. And I wanted to ask you too,
Mhm.
so you got started running appointments when you were 18, right?
Yes.
Okay. So did you have, because we have some young folks on here that are 18, 19, 20. Did you have anything, internally or mentally that you had to overcome there, as far as, sitting down, talking with people that are more mature, that are older, about getting this stuff set up? Like, is there anything that you did there? And then the other thing I wanted to ask you, and you kind of already touched on it, but I just want you to be clear for everybody. Like, so your parents are in the business, your parents are successful in the business, they've done really well. And then you get started selling. And even though your parents, like, they've done it, you watched them do it, they probably gave you great advice. Did you still have to go through the struggles, what I mean, the learning and getting good at this business? It's not like you didn't inherit being good at the business.
Yeah, I'll be honest. My parents, they have had a lot of success in this business, and they've been with Andy and Jane for over 30 years. And so they've been on stage, they've got banners and everything. And so there is a bit of, I've always walked around during conferences whenever I was growing up. It was always, that's Adam and Beth Katz's daughter. And it gave me this sense of thinking like, oh, okay, I've got this figured out. Like, it's in my genes. I'm going to be great at this. And it's just, Nick, yeah, that's not how it works. And I was humbled very quickly, because it's like, oh, I got to go through the same learning curve. Nobody's if you're born from doctors, you're not suddenly a doctor just because you're born from them. It doesn't work that way. And it was fairly stupid of me to have that thought process that, oh, maybe I'm going to be great just because of that. And I can be great. And I've got a leg up on the mindset. That was a big thing that I think I had coming in, where a lot of new people don't necessarily have that. And that's because of the influence of the Alliance. But in terms of technical skills and everything like that, I had to learn the products just like everybody else. So yeah, really, I think just being humble, walking in and understanding that there's going to be a learning curve was big. And in terms of the age thing, there's been a couple situations where, because if I'm sitting with somebody who was very wealthy or really far along or seemed to know what they were talking about, there's definitely been times where like I've had a little bit of hesitancy there. But honestly, I think just going in with the mindset, I've heard it for so many years, is that you are the professional, you have the license, they don't have the license. And so I kind of always had that in my mind. And to be honest, I've always considered it a bit of an advantage being young. As y'all could tell, I look really young. I don't look like I'm 20. And so it's, whenever I go into the homes, I'm automatically considered innocent in their eyes, and they look at me more as their like grandchild. And so the trust, I've kind of used that to my advantage of making just, they don't suspect that I'm super salesy or anything like that. So it's just, I look at it like, how can I be more like their granddaughter in building that relationship? So I don't think being young is a disadvantage in this business. I think we can use it as an asset, and it doesn't matter what age you are. There's different benefits that come with every age group and genders and everything like that. And so I think for me, I just took it on as, oh, I'm just going to be like their granddaughter because they're going to view me as sweet and innocent, and it's a bit to my advantage. So that was good. And then I don't know if this is, I've gotten this question a lot over the years. And I don't know how many people are out there, but just being a young female, I've had a lot of people talk to me about, are you scared about going out in homes and everything like that? And honestly, first of all, over the past 20 years of the company, there's never been any incidents. And so that wasn't a fear of mine. And what I've always said is that my dad trusted his 18-year-old daughter whenever my sister was going out to go to strangers' houses, and being 18 years old, he's never had any issue with me going out to houses, and I know he would protect me. So whether you're young or worried about anything like the safety or just being perceived as inexperienced or anything like that, it's just understand that you have what they need. They sent in a letter. And if you go to the doctor and it's a young doctor, you're not like, excuse me, I need somebody else. No, they went through medical school. They have the degree, they have the licenses, everything like that. You assume that they have the authority to be there. So just take on the position of, I have the authority to be there. And whenever you walk in with that confidence, nobody's going to question you.
Yeah, that was wow. You are light years ahead of of your age bracket. So, well, let's do this. Like I said, we were going to make it super short tonight. It has been super jam-packed full. Leave us with this. So what are some of your goals for this year? So, and you were working 1 day a week or 2 days a week while going to college. You made what, 30 grand your first year, and then what last year?
52.
30 grand and then 52. There's some adults that don't make $52,000 working full time at their jobs. And you did that at 19 years old while going to college. That's super badass. So what's your income goal for this year?
Minimum 100,000.
Minimum 100,000. Okay, cool. 20 years old. That's awesome. That is awesome. So just kind of leave us. Oh, I saw Adam Katz back there. I saw Mr. Katz back there.
Yeah, he's walking around.
He's walking around. Okay. So leave us with some of your last thoughts, what you're excited for about the future, maybe why people need to get to Reno. And then, one thing that you've noticed in the last maybe, few months that some of the changes that are happening to the events that you're getting super excited about, and just, your long-term vision for the company.
Yeah, I mean, I am super excited just about the opportunities that Andy has brought to the Alliance. We are with the right business opportunity at the right time and with the best leaders in the industry. And It's just so exciting to watch the new leadership that Andy's bringing on with Mark Aceta. At the event in Dallas, Mark had mentioned that to get an hour of his time, it's $5,000. And we are getting it for $200, $500 for Reno. And we get to be in Reno, and we get to be with leaders like Andy Albright. And y'all, Andy Albright's time is not cheap either. He gets asked to go to conferences and speak at other people's events. He is not cheap either. We get Tim Goad and all of these top industry leaders who are talking to us about what we specifically are doing. And I think it just says an incredible thing about Andy as a leader, that even though he's built this company to where it is and he's had a lot of success and he went partner, he's still looking for ways to make sure that we're successful. So I'm just fired up so that we get to go to Reno, we get to get trained by top industry leaders. I'm fired up to see what Mark Aceta brings to the table. What he did with World Ventures obviously has been just phenomenal. And I'm fired up to see that type of growth in the alliance. And I'm looking forward to going partner. I'm looking forward to going partner with Mike and Nick and y'all's whole team, and just getting to be a part of that next level of the inner circle. And I'm excited for Ireland, and just, it's incredible the places that we get to go and the things we get to do, and we get to do it with our own business. Nobody else is telling us what to do. Nobody else is controlling our life, telling us when to get out of bed, when to go to bed. We get to choose, and we get to build a freaking legacy. And I'm just fired up to see where that goes.